My name's Sam. I'm a musician, I'm a father, a husband, and since 2020, I've been a brain tumour patient. I'm making these films with the Tessa Jowell Foundation to help explain what it's like living with a brain tumour. I am delighted to have my good friend Alex with me today. We're going to just have a conversation really about our journeys. Over to you, Alex.
Great. So I'm Alex. I'm 38 and I've been living with brain cancer for almost 5 years now, coming up to 5 years this year, touch wood. First diagnosed when I was living in Australia. I've since moved back, obviously, to the UK, but in that time, got married, had a child, had 3 brain surgeries and a whole lot of other treatment, which I'm sure we'll come on to today. So yeah, lived a whole life in that time and lots of stories to tell, really.
I thought, like, for both of us, the whole diagnosis coming into a world that we never really expected we'd be in, all the way we joke about it, being a member of this club that we never wanted to be a part of. How did you find out? How did that kind of diagnosis and accepting that process kind of go for you?
Oh man, well, I think you never really, there's no kind of end point where you have accepted it or learned how to live with it fully. I think it's a constant process, isn't it? But I mean, at the time when I was diagnosed, the reason I found out, I guess, or my symptoms were, I was having a nap in our apartment in Sydney, and I woke up suddenly because I had this really vivid smell of burning rubber, and I still feel awful about it to this day, but I blamed my wife. I presumed she had left the straighteners on upstairs, so I was shouting up saying, Anna, there's a fire in the apartment, have you left your straighteners on? She was kind of saying, give over, there's no fire, go back to sleep. And yeah, it turns out that where the tumour was pushing on my brain was kind of to do with all of the smell receptors and smell and taste, and so that was creating the strange smell, and I still get that to this day. If the tumour ever comes back, I get that really strange smell of burning rubber, or I can get a really strange taste in my throat, so that's always a bad omen for me when I get that smell or that taste again. I think, oh god damn it, I think that's the tumour coming back.
It's funny you say that because I haven't met a lot of people. I get that as well, but for me it's like a smell of ammonia or like bleach or like a cleaning agent. And it's funny you blamed your wife, because the first time I got that smell was at home in the bathroom, and I just thought, Cindy's just gone a little bit OTT on the bleach here and gone for it, and I just didn't think anything of it as well. So it's funny how we've both had that kind of similar experience, and you just put it down to absolutely nothing, essentially, right?
Yeah, and then to come back to your original question, the diagnosis, I mean, I still laugh because I had surgery in Australia, and at the time they thought my tumour was low grade, and so I spent about a week lying in hospital, and when I saw the surgeon to go back and get the results of the biopsy they had done, he said, oh, we're really sorry and we're really shocked, but actually it's high grade, it's a glioblastoma. But one bit of advice, or one thing I'll say, don't Google glioblastoma. I felt like saying, I've just spent a week in hospital on my phone. What do you think I've been doing for the whole... I've Googled everything there is to Google about brain tumours. I know what a glioblastoma is.
And that's not the one I wanted to hear either, right? Exactly. Can I just, take you back a little bit to the diagnosis point when it was like, you have a tumour growing in your brain. What was your immediate feeling to that or reaction to that? Did you even have a clue that brain tumours existed? And
I really didn't know much about it. So the guy who told me he wasn't a neurosurgeon or neuro-oncologist. It was an ear, throat and nose specialist. It was a doctor who had sent me for the MRI, and I remember him just saying, is anyone with you? And I was kind of saying, oh, my wife's upstairs, and he said, you might want to go and get her, or put me on speaker and be next to her so she can take some notes, or there's just someone to help process this information. And all he said was, I'm not an expert, but I can see from your MRI that you've got a lesion on the brain, so you've got a brain tumour. And the main question I had was, I was thinking, well, is that the same thing as cancer? Is that a brain cancer? What's going on? So I did just say, well, okay, is that Because
Yeah.
in my head I was thinking, well, I know some tumours, there's benign and malignant, so what does this mean? And so I just said, well, is this brain cancer? You know, what happens from here? And he was just saying, I'll have to refer you to a proper neuro-oncologist. So,
Exactly what you want to hear at that point.
I
It's
know.
like, yeah, yeah.
So straight away, there's all these questions you have of how bad is this, essentially? Have I got brain cancer? Does that mean I'm going to die? All of these questions that are thrown straight up, and only really when you have time to process it and meet the neurosurgeon or the oncologist or whatever can you really get into that. But that's the scary point, really, when you hear those words, brain tumour, and you just think, well, what does any of this mean and how bad is it?
That's exactly what I was going to say, because I know it sounds silly, you hear of other cancers, you hear of breast cancer, but for me, the word brain tumour just meant like equals death. Like my initial thing when I first got that diagnosis was, okay, so I'm not making it out of this hospital. This is where it all ends. There's no hope in the world. Why me? Kind of a lot of things that go through your mind. And then you Google worst enemy. Don't ever do that. Please don't ever do that. But at the same time, you want to know, right? And you want to know, what am I fighting here? What am I up against here? But I guess was it the first thing that came in your mind? I was just more, how is this happening?
What the hell? Yeah.
What led me to this point? What have I done to get me here? Have I done something here? I don't know about you, if that was kind of things that went through your mind as well.
A little bit of that, yeah, a little bit. Mainly for me, it was because I had Googled glioblastoma, and even though they say don't, you have those headline statistics in your mind of like, okay, so they say it's 12 to 18 months, and so your brain straight away goes down that dark path of like, you've got a limited time here, or you've got this prognosis is really bad. You know, what the hell's going to happen, and what does this all mean? So, and then it's really that counterintuitive thing of when someone says don't do something, or you start thinking, right, I shouldn't think about the prognosis and the timelines. Then you think about it more.
But you can't help but do it, right?
Totally,
you want to
it's
know.
human nature.
If you've been told that, it's like, give me everything else with that comes with it. And I guess, as we know, you can't really put a timestamp on it as such. You just know that it's ticking, right? Can I ask you, like, at that moment, what was the first thing you thought about, like, in terms of life, almost?
Oh, man, I can't remember. I think what it does do is it kind of, I remember at the time actually talking to lots of friends and saying, well, I now feel really uncertain because you've got this prognosis on paper, which is awful. And so from that point, how do you live your life in terms of big decisions? You know, we were in Australia, we were thinking, well, do we go back home now? And then when we get home, we were at that point where we were probably at the life stage of, well, I did then subsequently propose to my now wife, but all of a sudden you start thinking about those big life moments, those big decisions. Do you get married? Do you buy a house? Because on paper, it's like, I might not live for longer than 12 months.
To go through. Yeah, exactly.
So is it a wise thing to do to buy a house? Because if I'm not around anymore, my wife's going to be stuck with these mortgage payments. Even the same with starting a family, having a child. You think, what do you do now? Is the right thing to do to press on and just live your life as you would have beforehand? Because I thought there might be a parallel universe where you don't do those big things, and actually I always said to myself, in 10 years, if I'm sitting there healthy as anything, I don't want to look back and say, we should have bought the house, or we should have had a kid, because you've been healthy and we could have done all of those things. So
ifs, right?
Yeah,
a lot of ifs,
and it's really difficult because there's no right answer. You could not do those things and think that was still the right thing to do because the alternative would have been awful. And it's just an impossible, all of these things, and still for the rest of our lives, I'm sure we'll be faced with those moments of, is this the right thing to do? Because what if I'm not around? And there's no right answer to that, I guess.
You're absolutely right. You're right in that there isn't a right answer to any of those questions, and you constantly question yourself, did I make the right choice in that moment? Constantly with kids, with every sort of aspect of life, finance, jobs. I think it plays into every single corner in terms of what is this decision going to impact, not just on you. I don't know about you, but I find it quite easy worrying about me in that respect. It's the impacts on my wife, on my children, on all the people around me that I can't control, and that really frustrates me because buying a house, like you said, having a kid, am I being selfish here? Am I being just trying to fulfill a dream that I have here? Or
Totally, yeah. And
I don't know. Yeah.
weirdly, I think being the patient sometimes is the easier place to be because, I mean, especially not to go straight to the heavy stuff, but especially with, you think end of life and dying. In some ways, I think, well, it's going to be the easiest person to be in that situation is going to be me because I'm not impacted. I'm not going to know anything about it. It's going to be my.
I love you say that. I say
Weirdly,
that as
it's
well.
true though. It's like it's
I'm
my
not gonna
wife,
know.
it's my family, it's my daughter. They're going to be the ones who have to live with the consequences of that. You know, you just go to sleep and don't know anything about it.
I laugh because I can't do anything else. But actually, yeah, for us, that is the truth of it. When we close our eyes, that's going to be us closing our eyes. It's the pieces that we leave behind and the relationships that we leave. Did I do enough? What can I do to do enough in this short period I've got? How long is that period? It's the unanswerable questions, right, that we're left with.
Sorry, I've taken us to death in 2 minutes then.
No. It's kind of something we do every day, right? Like we have to wake up and deal with that every morning. I don't know about you. There was a period of time I just look in the mirror and I'm like, I can see you. Well, I can't quite see you, but I know where you are. Come on, let's go. Let's go. I wish I could go for one round and just give it a thud, but unfortunately I can't. I've got to do everything else around that. Okay. Woosa that out. Can I ask you about treatment? Obviously, you briefly mentioned having surgery. What's been kind of like the treatment process for you? What were you given as your options?
Yeah, so I started my treatment in Australia, so I had surgery straight away to get all of the tumour out, and then the classic standard of care, I guess, so 6 weeks of chemo and radio at the same time. And
did you have all of that in Australia?
That was in Australia, yeah.
Okay.
And then when things were kind of under control and I was well enough to fly back home, since I've come back to the UK, I've had I've done another 4 rounds of chemo at the end of last year. I think I've done 17 rounds of chemo total since 2021. Yeah,
17 rounds of chemo, man. Having done a little stint of it, 6 rounds. What is that?
It's actually been
like?
okay. Yeah, I've tolerated it pretty well, so I'm grateful that I've been able to take on all the treatment that I have and it not kind of batter me too much. But the so chemo, radio, and then I'm on a trial drug at the moment, which I'll stay on as a kind of maintenance drug. But like I say, I'm thankful that all of the treatment I've had I've tolerated it okay. I mean, the surgery's knocked me pretty hard because it's obviously going back into the same bit of the brain and
Right.
cutting open the same tissue and the same bit of skull, which is pretty tiring and takes longer to recover from each time. But
Pretty tiring. I mean, dude, pretty tiring. I love how you said that. I often find it really difficult to explain to people how I'm feeling just through taking tablets and just through the treatment side of it. And I feel like the only people that really understand is you, me, the people in our club. And it's really hard to explain that to people. I kind of am almost tired of explaining it. It's like when I say I'm tired, it's a very different tired that I can explain to you. I'm not tired because I've gone out on a late night or anything like that. I'm tired because my engine has just all of a sudden gone off. Can we open that up a little bit?
I can relate to that, yeah. I mean, I think when I heard the word fatigue before being diagnosed, I didn't really realise or appreciate what fatigue really was.
Yeah.
I mean, now there's points where I just think, I'm so tired, I need to go to bed right now, and I'll just have to either go home if I'm out or go upstairs if I'm at home and close my eyes, get into bed for an hour or two. And I always say to people that's fatigue when feel like you've got no other option, but I have to go to bed right now.
Because it is really hard. I don't know if you get tired of trying to explain it to people, why are you so tired all the time? And it's like, you finished your treatment. It's like, no, it's very much an ongoing thing here, where there is something going on upstairs. I've had some treatment for it, and that has had a lasting effect on me. And I find the tiredness really hard. Sometimes I get embarrassed by it, because it's kind of like, this is very unlike me, who is jumping around and full of energy. But this is unfortunately one of those things that has changed within me. And I don't know when that might change back, if it will ever change back. I don't know if you have that.
Yeah, and I also think there must be an element of the mental fatigue, of like the anxiety, the, you know, thinking about all the what ifs, thinking about all the stuff we're talking about, essentially. That must weigh so heavily and take such a mental toll. I think that adds to the fatigue as well.
I don't think people get it in that respect, in the nicest possible way. Like getting up in the morning and having to go, right, we've got to go positive into this, or I'm feeling like absolute, do I have to do this day? Like, just that kind of workout in itself is huge, right? Mentally, it's kind of going to dark places and then working out, how do I get out of the dark place? And then how do I get up and be normal again and not let anyone see my...
Exactly. What happens behind closed doors, in your mind,
Yeah, closed doors in your mind. Do you ever get tired of trying to have to explain it to people?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, not so much the fatigue and the kind of the mental battle, but
yeah. What is your kind of
definitely
challenges?
the on treatment? Definitely, there's a kind of, I feel like there'll be a lot of people asking where you're up to, and I don't want to ever feel like you're complaining, because it's so nice when people show an interest, but having that same conversation over and over again of, oh, I've got 20 more rounds of radio to do, and then after that it's onto this drug, and then
You find it tiring?
yeah.
I found it really tiring.
There's also a lot of the time you might not want to talk about it. You just think, actually, I want to be in bed watching some Netflix and just thinking about something totally different.
And explaining it to people, it's kind of I always joke, I'd love to just print this off and have leaflets that I can hand out and give it to
The press release,
right. Yeah, I'm on stage 4 of chemo. I've still got 2 to go. What does that mean? That means I've got to take this kind of intravenous for a couple of days, then I've got to take this tablet, and then this. And it's like, I don't mean to be rude, and you want to come and see me, great. I just kind of would rather sit and watch Netflix at the moment, because I can fall asleep in that period of time, which I probably will do after 2 minutes. I don't know if you're the same.
Totally, yeah.
I'm through an episode and I'm like, I haven't watched any of it, but it's not out of rudeness. It's just out of, that's the way I'm feeling right now. And I don't know, like, I've tried to be helpful to people in, maybe let me help you by telling you what you can do for me. And I don't know whether you've had that experience as well. People want to come around, people want to cook for you and do that for you. And it's like, actually, I can't work on that timetable. In 2 weeks, I have a really good intention of going to your party or going to this. But like 2 hours before, I might not be able to do that. So please don't take it rudely or anything. That's like very tiring on how to. How do you kind of get through that? Because I find it really, really hard.
Yeah,
mentally.
that is hard. And especially, I think this time round when I've been doing all the radio and everything that I've been through, it's so many people message saying, oh, let me know how I can help, or if there's anything I can do, which I really appreciate it. I think it's so nice that people are reaching out and offering, but actually I find it easier to be a bit directional myself sometimes and say, you know what, if there's anything you could do, actually it would be make a big batch of lasagna or something and drop it around. That's the most helpful. Or just people saying, oh, is there anything I can do? I find quite difficult to...
How do you answer that?
Often the things that I would like, I feel like I could never actually ask someone. It's like, could you come around and clean the bathroom, actually?
No, and
I'm not going to ask someone to do that. So
it's funny you say that, because when people ask me the same thing, I've been trying to think in myself, how can I reply this answer? Because people do want to do something good. I've even had like moments with friends where it's like, well, I do want to do something for you, so why? And it almost causes a little bit of friction, because it's, I want to help you, but how can I help you? And trying to be productive at it, I'm looking at what the technology we have for food and stuff like that. Uber Eats, take my address down, and then I have a wife and I've got 2 kids. Look after them. That would make me so happy. Just send some food over for them. You joke about can you come and clean my bathroom? Maybe send a cleaner around.
Yeah.
But
Maybe I should ask for that too.
But that's kind of like a really honest thing. Like, we don't have the energy, and everything falls on our partner at the moment. And it's like there's that guilt as well within us. Like, am I just lazy? Am I really feeling this? I don't know if you've had that question yourself. What more can I do here? I can't. I physically can't do anymore.
I mean,
here.
that's probably the biggest thing at the moment, especially with the phase of treatment and with my current situation. So I can't use my left arm at the moment. And
talk to me about that, man.
It's just where I've had this recurrence at the end of last year, and where the tumour started regrowing. It's completely cut off the nerve supply, I guess, to this arm, and it's out of action, and so is the hand. And so the impact that's had is it's not safe for me to lift my daughter or to push a pram or anything like that. So then you talk about, impact at home or on family. I mean, really, at the moment, my wife is doing everything in terms of bath time, bedtime, nursery runs, pushing the pram. Really, when you think about it, she's become a single mum because she's doing everything from going to the shops, making the dinner, doing the bath time, doing the nursery drop-offs, everything I just said. So there's obviously, you think of having cancer and the main impact is on me physically and mentally, but the impact on those around you as well, of like all the burden now falling on my wife to do all of the childcare. Like I said, she's basically single mum. And so
how, if you don't mind me asking, because it will help me, how has that affected your relationship?
Oh, it's massively hard. Because I feel guilty for not doing more, and I feel like I'm constantly saying, how can I help, what can I do? But the reality is it's not safe for me to, if she said, oh, can you take Etta up to the bath, it wouldn't be safe for me to try and pick her up and put her in, or it wouldn't really be safe for me to push her to nursery. So it's incredibly difficult, because I think she must feel a bit of resentment. She'd obviously never say that, and I'm sure she doesn't actually think that, because this isn't my fault. It's nothing I've done deliberately, obviously. But I'm sure she feels frustrated and a little bit resentful that all the burden is falling on her. I feel incredibly guilty that I can't do more, but it's just the brutal reality of the situation is I can't safely. So, yeah, it creates a massive strain in the relationship, really, I think, because she's frustrated, I'm guilty. You then having to call in support from the wider family of, like, parents are coming down a lot more. We're relying on wider family a lot more. So the burden is being shifted to everyone else.
Yeah. What you say is exactly. Do you ever feel like that kind of piece that needs to be shifted around in the puzzle? You're almost like your child. You have to be looked after in case there's someone there to look after Alex and Sam. And I feel that weight so heavy, personally speaking. Driving, that independent. I don't know whether it's you. I just feel like my independence has been stripped away from me, and I'm relying on everyone else to make decisions for me, because it's not that I'm not capable of making those decisions myself, but is it safe for everyone else, like you said? But I've found that really difficult, because I feel like I'm back to being a child again, and everyone else is making decisions for me.
Yeah, I mean, I find that less with the decisions, but the just day-to-day activities. Feeling like a child is such a good description. I mean, because of my arm, I can't tie my shoelaces or get shoes on, really. If I was to go to the toilet now, I'd probably need you to come with me to help do my flyers, undo them so I can go to the toilet, redo them afterwards. And so if that isn't, going back to a child, I don't know what is.
No.
Even getting help, showering, I'll need someone to... Often I'll have to get my dad to come and stand in the bathroom with me and say, oh, can you just squeeze some shower gel onto my hand? Because I've only got, I obviously can't do things you need 2 hands for. So feeling like a child is such a good description of it, yeah.
Yeah. We were talking about this before when I saw you. I mean, you and me met doing a 26 kilometre or mile trek, right? And we were both, up and about. And I see you again, and I'm wandering around doing the same sort of stuff, and you can't use your left hand, and I feel really guilty. because I can do it and you can't, and we were doing something together. I don't know if it makes any sense to you, but it feels really, really hard and heavy on my heart to see you like this, and you're just kind of getting on with it, and you're just like, mate, chill out. Can I? How does it feel inside, man? Like this being taken away from you at this moment in time.
It's so frustrating, and I have this weird thing because all I want to do at the moment is go for a run or do some exercise because I obviously can't. The only thing I can do is walking, and I have this weird thing when I see people out running in Crystal Palace Park and I'm just walking. I'm so jealous of people, and I just want to. I kind of want to shout at them as they walk past. You don't know how lucky you are that you can run. Appreciate it, you know.
Yeah.
Because when it's taken away from you, it's so galling and so annoying. I don't think I'd want to go back and do that 26-mile hike again, but I do just really want to do a 5k jog. That's all I want to do. And yeah, it's hard not to feel resentful at other people who can just do that without thinking. And now I look back and think, oh man, I wish I appreciated it more when I had the ability to do something really simple like go for a swim or go for a run. Why didn't I do that every day? Because now that's all I want to do, you know?
Yeah, that kind of your purpose in life, right? Everything that you missed and you always thought you'd have time to do just gets tipped on its head, right?
All these things you put off. I mean, it's been on my mental to-do list for about 5 years to do a triathlon, and every year I'd think, oh, I'm too busy this year, I'll do it next year.
You find an excuse.
And I'm so annoyed now that I didn't do it because I'm like, now I think, well, I don't know. I'm sure I will be fit enough to be able to do it in future. Maybe it'll be next year, maybe it'll be in 3 years, but I'm kicking myself that I didn't do it when I was fit enough because now I can't, obviously, for the time being. So
you said a word there that really stuck with me, resentful. I feel guilty sometimes for feeling resentful, but it is in my heart somewhere because I can't do some of these things the same way. And I'm constantly having to be checked after, did you take medicine? Did that, you know, and I don't know how you feel. Well, obviously resentful is there, but that guilt that lies with you, do you kind of, how do you get past that as a patient who is fighting brain cancer, but you hold another guilt and a thing within you? How do you try and get through that?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. I guess the thing I constantly have to remind myself is like no one wants to be in this situation, and it's no one's fault. So if I'm getting annoyed at other people, I'm the same. I might be annoyed at my wife or my parents if they're saying, have you taken your medication? Have you done this? And I'm kind of thinking, I'm not a child, you know, yes, I'll remember to take my medication. And then you feel guilty for getting annoyed at people.
Yeah.
But then I just try and tell myself, yeah, this is no one's fault. It's nothing we've done. And you've just got to give everyone a wide berth and try and take a deep breath and take every day as it comes. Yeah.
I mean, we're both on kind of the same train, but we've got different journeys and different paths this is taking at the moment for us. Can I ask you what has been your biggest challenges? Maybe let me take that one step further. What are your biggest challenges that people don't know about?
I think a lot of the less obvious stuff, or the stuff behind closed doors, maybe the stuff we were talking about with family and the burden. Yeah. So, you know, the amount of responsibility that my wife has had to take on and the impact that's had on our relationship probably is the biggest thing, because people won't see that and won't, you know, when people look at you and think cancer, it's probably the more obvious stuff of like, how are you tolerating chemo, or how are you getting on with your arm and all your physio and things like that. But actually the biggest stuff is the more subtle, how's your dynamic changed with your wife, or how's your wife doing, maybe. I think that's probably the bigger challenge, I'd say, yeah.
I would 100% agree.
I'd love to know what you find.
I think people see Instagram and social media, and I try and portray myself as a very positive, you know, get up at it every day, and that's so far from the truth. It's not even funny. I mean, I maintain hope and positivity. You've got to have that at the forefront of your mind. But the truth is, most days I'm wallowing and I'm struggling to kind of get up and see that. And it puts such a strain on my relationship with my wife. And at the start, we're just kind of like, right, let's support each other. Let's, everything's good at the start. Does that feel weird? I remember even coming in to do, as we were both coming in on the train, I was listening to a song that I'd listened to at the start of my cancer journey. And I remember how positively I wanted to approach it and attack. We're going to go for this. And I remember sitting a few months ago being on the train, and I'm like, just kind of wondering what's going to happen next. Like, do I go at things with purpose, or do I hold back? And I feel like I'm doing nothing. I'm just treading water at this moment in time. Is it okay to tread water? Is it not okay? Am I wasting? It just, and before you know it, you get lost in this kind of worry cycle. You probably
it's hard not to, though, because you're going for so long. I mean, I'm 4 years in. I don't know how long your journey's been.
I've just hit 6 years myself.
Okay, so it's hard not to hit that point, I think, where you feel like you're treading water, or you maybe don't have the energy you did at the start, because that's natural 6 years in.
This is it. And it's like I got to a point with my scans where I was comfortable. I was like excited, right, I'm going to smash this scan, no growth. And then it is that one scan that you build up all this positivity and this energy, and you've built up your wall, your castle, and you're the king of the castle. And it just takes one bad scan to destroy it all. Everything comes crumbling down. And I'm not sure about you. I'm struggling to build it again. I'm really nervously putting every brick by brick, kind of thinking, do I want to do this again just to get smashed back down again?
Totally, yeah.
And my scans now are going with so much anxiety and fear rather than the positivity that used to go in, high-fiving all my radiologists as I go in through there.
Okay, I've never done that, but...
Yeah, it's just a Sam thing. But, like, it's really quietened myself down a little bit more. And I don't want to be in that place.
No, you're so right, though. I think there's a point I definitely got to where at the start you're so nervous with every scan, thinking, God, that this could be the one, and it's scanxiety and all of the stuff that everyone describes. But after 4 years or so, I think I maybe got to a point where I was a little bit complacent, to where I was kind of thinking, well, I'm 4 years in now, I'm
smashing this.
Yeah, I've got this. And you're starting to, there's a little part of you that's starting to say maybe you're not going to die, or, maybe you're going to be one of the people who's makes it to 5 years, or you
break the
stats are there to be broken,
and I still believe it.
Yeah,
we are going to break stats together, but
then you're right, though. You have the one bad scan, and it all comes crumbling down, and you think, God, why was I getting confident? Or
it's almost like cockiness, isn't it? And that's not cockiness. You're allowed to find hope.
Surely you're allowed to be positive, yeah.
And that is positivity. But it is just one thing can change that in an instant.
I joke with my wife now, we're like this, because we've had a trip to Australia booked the last 2 times I've had a bad scan, to the point where we've had flights booked or the time booked off work or whatever. It's like, it's sod's law. We could kind of say, this tumour almost knows, as soon as we book the flights, or as soon as we've got something great to look forward to, it manages to come back, and then it's a bad scan. And it's so frustrating. But it is that point of, you've got to have hope and positivity, but find that balance of not get too complacent.
I think life is very real. Sometimes when people see me now, they're expecting me to kind of, high five, fist pump, jump up. I'm kind of not waiting for the next bad bit of news to come. I'm trying to move away from that, because there was a long period of time I wallowed in that. But I need my time. I need some time to get myself back into that, because I will find myself just lost in my thoughts sometimes in the day. And my wife will turn around to me and goes, "You okay?" And I'm like, I don't even know what I was thinking about as such, but I was just kind of lost in that. Mate, I don't know about you. My biggest honour and my biggest privilege is being a dad. And I know you've had that experience as well. That's probably the thing that inspires me the most, but scares me the most, because they're the ones that I'm fighting for. I want to see everything that they do and achieve, and I'm so scared I'm not going to get to. I mean, what are your thoughts on that kind of, how does that dynamic affect you?
Yeah, I mean, at the moment it feels very real for all the things we just talked about of like me physically not being able to help, and I have this incredible guilt at the moment. My daughter will sometimes come in from nursery and she'll run into the kitchen and, you know, grab my leg and say, "Dada, Dada," and put her arms up, which means, you know, I want to be picked up. And I have to say, "Oh, darling, sorry, Daddy isn't well enough to pick you up." And I think I feel so guilty and just sad because I'm like, she's not old enough to understand what's happening to me. Obviously, she's only 18 months. All she'll see is probably just, I want to be picked up by my dad and he's not picking me up. So, yeah, that changing dynamic of a lot of the things you want to do, you're physically not able to do. And then also there's the unspoken kind of heavier thing, which is you start thinking, yeah, what, there is a life here where I'm not going to be around at some point, and how's that going to work out with my wife and my daughter, and it doesn't really bear thinking about.
Yeah, scares me, man. Scares me a lot. Do you feel a responsibility to? I don't know. How do you feel about kind of her growing up, and is there a responsibility that you feel right now to? Let me put it another way to you. I feel like I want to get everything done and get into them right now at the age of 8 years old and give them all the advice so that they've got it. They've got all that fatherly advice in case I'm not there to give it to them. But at the same time, I just want to watch them grow up as kids as well. And I don't want my diagnosis because they know I have to go for scans. They know I have to have this and that and the other. I don't know whether your daughter is old enough to understand that daddy's having something going on at the moment.
She'll definitely be too young, and I guess that's in a way that takes the pressure off me. I don't have that same pressure you're describing of like, I don't think, oh, I've got to make all these memories right now, or I've got to impart wisdom, or we've got to have certain conversations, because she's just too young. I guess I feel the responsibility of the certain things you want to set up and make sure that financially or in other ways the family is set up so that if at some point I'm not around, they're sorted and they're not left in a pickle.
Absolutely. You hit the word there, financially. How does that affect the dynamics in your household?
Yeah, we're having we're kind of tackling that at the moment because I'm not able to work, obviously, because I've only got one hand that can type. So I've been okay up until this point. Without getting into boring things like sickness policies, I've been being paid for the last few months while I haven't been in work, but that's coming to an end soon. And so, yeah, we're having quite stressful conversations about, well, what happens if I'm not being paid, and then is my wife's salary enough to pay the mortgage and the nursery? What's going to happen if we don't have enough money coming in? So that's one of the unseen things we were talking earlier about. Some of the challenges is people see the obvious things of you going through chemo, you've just had surgery, but you don't see a lot of the conversations of what if you don't get paid next month and my pay isn't enough to cover the salary, to cover the mortgage? Are we going to have to sell the house? Are we going to have to...
You've basically just summarised my last 9 months of my life pretty much, and it's every month the challenge is there because we've both had to step away from work, and for whatever reasons we're working in different things, but that is a part of this kind of chemo, radiotherapy, side effects, after effects, whatever it is. There's a part of you which you have to rebuild again. For me, I thought I was going to come out of chemotherapy like, boom, we're ready to go, let's conquer the world. And then I realised the world carried on going while I had chemo and radio, while I was stood still taking that treatment, but everyone else was moving forward while I was stuck still. And then when that realisation sunk in, it was kind of like actually really, really sad. And it really, really it has, and it still is taking me time to get back on my feet. And that financial conversation is so real, man. Everything that you've just said there, like, are we going to make it for this month's bill? And I'm not really bringing in the money that I used to bring or should be bringing in, if at all, some months. And all that pressure goes back on your partner. And then that sparks our own guilt. I feel like we're using the word guilt a lot. Yeah. On ourselves, right?
Which says a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of things that we feel guilty for, which We didn't ask for. Do I sound pathetic saying that?
No, it's
I didn't
so
ask
right.
for this. But that is the truth, right? I'm just being really honest about it.
And especially with the work thing, it's kind of like, I wish I could go back to work tomorrow
I miss being around people, man.
and start bringing money in, but the fact is that I just can't, and I'm sorry.
I'm going to be really honest about something. I'm missing one of my best friend's birthday parties abroad this year because I can't afford it, man. I'm being really honest. It's like a heartbreaking truth. And I've never been in that situation before. But it's kind of like all of a sudden growing up and having to weigh up priorities and stepping back and thinking your responsibilities again as a father, as a husband. And these are all they're just conversations people don't see and people just assume are okay. We were talking, what can people do for us? If you don't mind loaning me some money.
Paying the nursery bill for the next 6 months.
That'll be good. I'll take that. I'll take that in a second. Or my mortgage. I think people don't realise how serious that is. I laugh and joke about it sometimes, but it's a real kind of big impact on my life and my relationships as well. And I feel so guilty going and having to sometimes ask my parents, can you help me this month because I'm struggling with it. And it really then crushes you as an individual. It's like, am I pathetic
so much
now?
of it comes back to your identity, yeah. If you're unable to work
that
or
independence stripped away from you.
Totally.
Yeah. It could go really deep on that one. I mean, we just spoke about having independence stripped of us through this journey and that feeling of kind of, I have had to change who I am as an individual, and my identity has changed. I don't know if you feel the same way, but the guy, I guess, that I used to be 5-6 years ago is not the same person that I am right now, for better, for worse. You can do, and everyone will have a different opinion about it. What I do think, when I'm looking at the positive side of things, I say my tumour's my biggest blessing because it's helped me refocus my whole priorities in life. I know what's important now. I really do know that, and I know where I want to focus my energy and my time. And while I always thought I'd have time, what I have been doing is just being on the hamster wheel, going round and round and round. And now I really want to use the time. And I think it's made me a better person in that respect by giving me purpose in my life. And I feel I've come out of my shell for someone who can be encouraging and supportive, which I never really, I know I'm a loudmouth, but I never knew I could use that in a good way. I think that's changed in my identity in terms of being able to support and be a shoulder. And I never thought, I always thought maybe I'm a nice guy, but I never thought I could actually impact someone's life in a positive way through my own falling into this.
Yeah.
I don't know how you feel and how that's changed you at all.
I think I'll go less profound than you and just say one thing that I've noticed has definitely changed for me is I always thought that, I guess, having this change of perspective would mean you'd save certain things in life, and they'd be really big things. So it'd be like, oh, I need to go and see the sunrise over Australia or something. And actually, for me, it's been a lot of the smaller things that I found that I appreciate a lot more. So it might be, getting my favourite cup of coffee, or just, going for a nice walk in the park and seeing the ducklings off swimming, and some of those really smaller moments in life. I think, I really appreciate those a lot more now, actually. And maybe it is a thing because you're aware of your own mortality. But yeah, being a bit more present and a bit more attuned to those smaller things where you think, actually, this smell of this cup of coffee is amazing, and I'm going to just slow down a bit right now and appreciate this.
I love that, being attuned to what's in front of you. It's like what you just said there, walking through a park. You probably just normally walk through a park. stopping and seeing the ducklings, and stopping and seeing the actual nature and the beauty that's
Yeah,
around
I'm going to take
you.
my headphones out and just appreciate this moment a bit more, because we should all do that, yeah. I don't know whether you find this, but I think there's a bit of a misconception. Sometimes people, whether it's friends or contacts or whatever, will say to me, oh, not to sound arrogant or whatever, but they might say something like, oh, you're very inspirational, or you're just great the way you're so positive. And I think I never have, there's not a moment where I get up in the morning and have to look at myself in the mirror and say, right, come on, be positive today, or like, you've got this or whatever. It really is a matter of just going one foot in front of the other. Just get in the shower, get out the door, get to work. You kind of day by day just keep grinding on, and that's what I say to people. I don't think I'm doing anything special that other people wouldn't do. I always say, I'm sure you do the same thing as me if you're in this situation. You just day by day, one foot in front of the other. I think there's only been one thing I can remember which happened during radiotherapy just before Christmas, where I was going through a bit of a rough spell, and actually my consultant said, why don't do radiotherapy today if you don't want to do it. You can take the day off, just skip it, and you might feel a bit better. Have the day to have a sleep or whatever. And I actually thought to myself, no, I'm gonna do it, because if things don't go so well, I don't want to look back on this day and think, oh, if
I'd
only,
done that day.
I wonder if I had done that
Yeah.
radiotherapy dose, would I have been better or whatever. But literally only that moment is the one I can think of in the last 4.5 years where I've had to make a decision, where I have maybe looked at myself in the mirror and thought, come on, put your big boy pants on and get into hospital and do the radiotherapy.
Yeah.
There's not that daily conversation with myself where I think, come on, you fight this today, or like,
Yeah.
I don't have to G myself up. I don't know, what do you feel differently, or?
It's weird, because I feel like this journey is like two parts of the journey. For me personally, it was like the initial diagnosis up till things went wrong again. So that first part, I feel like I was on fire in many respects. Like, it came naturally to me. I didn't need to G myself up. I feel like post chemotherapy and radiotherapy, for me personally, that did a lot of damage to my confidence. And I have found myself just having to kind of, rather than talk to myself, I have to remind myself why every day, looking at my beautiful girls. It's the simple part of it. It is like when I'm feeling right at that low point, when I don't want to get up and go to the gym, I know my daughter's going to go, Daddy, to go gym this morning. And I don't want to turn around to her and say, no, because like in some ways I want her that to be, we're talking about how we get through certain stuff. Actually, how can I be an inspiration to her? Daddy got up this morning at 5:30 and he went to the gym and he's back ready to take us to school. Boom. Right. That's where I find some form of inspiration and hope through this really difficult time, because I can talk to myself all I want. But sometimes it's just not going to come from there. You've got to kind of dig deep as to where that inspiration comes from. And then my goals. And I have to also say my faith. My faith is kind of fundamental, like the bedrock upon which this is all built, because when I am at that point, sometimes there's nothing else to do except kind of, God, just really help me here. I'm really struggling. And I do feel that peace when I can kind of hand the reins over. But it's hard to keep like remembering to do that every day, right? It's got to be built in you like a habit almost, that actually this is how I naturally have had to change now. This is life now. This is how we move forward in this direction. But yeah, as you know, it's not always as easy as that. Alex, mate, it's been a privilege and an honour to be sat here. I know what you're going through at the moment, and the fact that I found the journey into London quite difficult, and you just breezing through life. And I just want to thank you for your time, and I want to thank you for your honesty. Our friendship is probably quite a big symbol of this kind of like brain community that we are now part of, and the membership and the club, platinum members.
The club that no one wanted to be a member of.
Yeah, well, we're here, and I hope you inspire me with the things that you're doing every day to just get up and keep going. And I want you to know that, because
Well,
that's
right
so
back
true.
at you. Thank you, and it's so good to talk to someone who can actually relate to this stuff and have those
It's-
conversations. Yeah.
The journey's hard, but it's much easier when you have a friend who can you can be honest with and open with, and who knows what you're feeling in that respect. So thank you for your time. I'm going to give you a hug,
man.
brother.
Yeah, come on. I only got one arm, but